Have you ever imagined that the person you trusted the most could one day become your greatest fear? That thought echoed in Emily's head like a storm as she sprinted down the stark white hallway of the hospital. Her heart pounded against her ribs, faster and faster with every step. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered faintly, and the squeak of her shoes against the polished linoleum floor seemed to merge with the frantic sound of her breathing. She wasn't just running toward her mother's room. She was running toward the truth that had been hidden in shadows for years. And in a single moment, that truth collided with her in the most horrifying way possible. At the far end of the corridor, Emily froze. Her body turned cold. There, just a few yards ahead, stood Richard. Her uncle, her father's brother, a man who had smiled at family dinners, patted her on the shoulder during Christmas gatherings, and whispered empty condolences when her father had passed away. But now, in the bright sterility of the hospital, his hands told a different story. They were wrapped tightly around Sophia's neck, Emily's mother, pulling her backward in a vicious chokehold. Sophia's face was pale, her lips trembling as she tried to gasp for air. Her white hospital gown crumpled against Richard's iron grip. Her body leaned heavily, almost limp, as if her spirit were already halfway gone. "Mom!" Emily screamed, her voice slicing through the silence like shattered glass. Sophia's weak eyes fluttered toward her daughter. Tears formed, but no words came out. Richard's face twisted into a smile, a cruel, deliberate smirk that chilled Emily's blood. Well, he muttered in his low, gravelly voice. The little girl finally shows up. Right on time. Emily's hands shook uncontrollably. Her chest heaved as she raised them instinctively, not knowing whether to fight, to beg, or to collapse under the weight of what she was seeing. "Let her go." Emily's voice cracked, torn between rage and terror. "Please, you're hurting her." Richard's arm tightened. Sophia coughed violently, her knees buckling. "Hurting her," Richard scoffed, leaning closer to Sophia's ear. "Sweet Emily, this is nothing compared to the hurt your family caused me. Your father, your precious father, he stole everything from me. And now, you're going to give it back." Emily's brows furrowed, her mind raced. What is he talking about? Richard's eyes bore into her, dark and venomous. "The file, Emily. Don't play stupid. I know your father gave it to you before he died. Bring it to me, now." Emily's throat tightened. She shook her head. I don't know what you mean." A cruel laugh echoed down the corridor. Richard squeezed Sophia harder, and Emily's mother whimpered in agony. "Lies," Richard hissed. "You've always been a terrible liar, Emily. Just like your father." Emily took a trembling step forward, her voice desperate. "If you want me, take me. But let her go, please." Richard's grip tightened once more. No. You don't get to make the rules. I've waited too long for this moment. Flashback. The father's secret. Emily's mind raced back to the last night she had spent with her father. She was only 14 at the time. It was raining, thunder rolling in the distance. Her father had called her into his study, an old room filled with shelves of law books, papers, and the smell of leather and dust. "Emily," he had whispered, his face pale, his eyes burdened with secrets. "There's something you must keep safe. Something no one can ever know about. Not even your mother." From his desk, he had pulled out a worn leather envelope. Its edges were frayed, and the wax seal bore the family crest, a mark she had only seen on official documents. "This file," he continued, pressing it into her trembling hands. "It holds the truth about everything, our fortune, our land, our enemies. Promise me, Emily, promise you'll protect it, no matter what happens to me." She had cried, shaking her head. "Dad, I don't understand. Why me?" "Because," he had whispered, gripping her shoulders with urgency, "they'll come for it. And when they do, you'll know who they really are." The memory shattered as Emily blinked back, tears in the present. The file. Richard was talking about that file. The standoff. Emily's pulse quickened. Her secret was no longer safe. "Uncle Richard, I don't have it anymore," she stammered, her voice trembling with half-truth. Richard's expression darkened. His knuckles pressed deeper into Sophia's fragile skin. "Don't you dare lie to me. I can see it in your eyes. You still have it." Sophia gasped, her voice hoarse but firm. "Emily, run, don't give it to him." Emily shook her head violently. No, I won't leave you. For a fleeting second, time seemed to freeze. The only sounds were the faint hum of the hospital's ventilation and Sophia's labored breathing. Then, faint, but unmistakable, the wail of police sirens pierced the silence from outside the building. Richard's face hardened. His smirk faltered. He looked toward the end of the hall, then back at Emily. Time is running out. Choose, Emily, your mother's life, or that file. Emily's chest heaved. She looked down at the worn leather bag slung over her shoulder, the bag that had guarded her father's secret for years. Her fingers curled around the strap. Please, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Don't make me choose. Richard tilted his head, almost amused. Life is nothing but choices, my dear. And tonight, you'll learn what it costs to make the wrong one. Emily's eyes darted from her mother's pale face to the cruel grip that Richard's hands maintained around her throat. The sterile smell of antiseptic mixed with the heavy taste of fear in her mouth. Her body trembled, but her mind screamed for action. Please, Emily begged, taking a step closer. I don't have it anymore. Just let her go. Richard's lips curled into a sneer. You expect me to believe that? Do you think I've wasted all these years chasing shadows? Your father gave it to you. I know it, and I know you've kept it. Emily's fingers twitched against the strap of her bag. The leather felt heavier than it had ever felt before, as if the file itself had become a living burden pressing down on her. Her mother's strangled gasp pulled her back. Sophia's hands clawed weakly at Richard's arm, her nails barely scratching his sleeve. The sight made Emily's chest ache. Stop, please, you're killing her, Emily shouted. Richard's eyes flashed with a dangerous glint. Then make it stop. Hand it over, and this all ends. But Emily knew better. A part of her, the part that had grown up watching Richard's false smiles and greedy eyes, knew that nothing would ever be enough for him. Even if she gave him the file, he would destroy them both. She felt her knees weaken, but she forced herself to stand tall. Her father's voice echoed in her memory, they'll come for it. And when they do, you'll know who they really are. Now she knew. The corridor tension. Richard yanked Sophia backward a few steps, pressing her against the wall. The impact made her head jolt, and she cried out in pain. Emily's heart felt like it cracked in two. Don't, Emily screamed, rushing forward, but Richard raised his free hand, pointing a warning finger at her. Another step, and she doesn't walk out of here alive, he growled. Emily froze mid-step, tears spilling down her cheeks. Her hands hovered helplessly in the air. Richard smirked at her fear. That's better. Now, tell me where it is. Emily shook her head frantically. I can't. You won't. Richard cut her off sharply. His voice echoed like thunder in the hollow corridor. Just like your father. Stubborn until the end. But unlike him, you don't have the strength to stop me. Sophia's eyes, red and glistening, found her daughter's. With her last ounces of strength, she whispered hoarsely, don't give it to him, Emily, whatever you do. Richard's face twisted with fury. He slammed Sophia harder against the wall. Her body sagged. Stop, Emily screamed, her voice breaking. Please, stop. For the briefest moment, the hospital corridor seemed frozen in time. The faint hum of machines, the beep of distant monitors, the shuffle of a nurse's shoes at the far end, all of it faded, leaving only the suffocating tension between them. Flashback. The first warning. Emily remembered another night, years ago. She was 16, sitting by her mother's side at the kitchen table. The house was dimly lit, and the sound of rain pattering against the windows filled the silence. Emily, Sophia had said, her voice trembling, if anything ever happens to me, don't trust Richard. Emily had frowned, confused. But he's family. He's Uncle Richard. Sophia's eyes had hardened. Family doesn't mean safe. There are things you don't know, things your father tried to shield you from. Emily had leaned closer, desperate for answers. What things, Mom? But Sophia had shaken her head, tears glistening in her eyes. Some truths hurt more than lies. One day, you'll understand. Now, as Emily stared at the man choking the life out of her mother, she understood all too well. The police sirens grow closer. The faint wail of sirens outside grew louder. Flashing red and blue lights danced across the frosted hospital windows. Richard's jaw tightened. His time was running out. He pulled Sophia forward, dragging her a few steps toward Emily. Last chance, Emily. The file, or she dies in front of you. Emily's hands shook violently. She clutched her bag tighter, her mind torn apart. Every instinct screamed to protect her mother, but her father's dying plea echoed even louder. Promise me, Emily. Protect it, no matter what happens to me. Tears blurred her vision. She could barely breathe. I'll give it to you, Emily whispered, her voice breaking. Richard's eyes lit up with victory. Sophia's muffled cry escaped her throat. No, Emily, don't. But Emily's trembling fingers reached for the bag. Slowly, she unzipped it, her hands shaking as she pulled out the worn leather envelope. Richard's grip on Sophia loosened slightly as his greedy eyes locked on the prize. Yes, that's it. Give it to me. Emily's gamble. Emily's mind spun. She knew she couldn't just hand it over. If she did, everything her father had sacrificed would be destroyed. But she also couldn't risk her mother's life. Her eyes darted around the corridor. A security camera blinked faintly above the door. A fire alarm lever gleamed red on the wall. And faint footsteps echoed from the stairwell at the end of the hall. The police were almost here. Emily took a shaky breath. She had to stall. She held the envelope tightly, lifting it halfway toward Richard. You'll let her go first. That was the deal. Richard chuckled darkly. And since when do you think you're in any position to bargain? But Emily didn't flinch this time. She straightened her back, her voice steadier. If you kill her before you get this, then you lose everything. Do you really want that risk? Richard paused, considering her words. His eyes narrowed. For the first time, Emily felt a flicker of power. Her heart still pounded, her knees still trembled, but she had something Richard wanted. And that gave her leverage. Let her go, Emily repeated firmly, gripping the file tighter. Then you get this. Richard's rage. Richard's smirk vanished, replaced by a snarl. You think you're clever, don't you? Just like your father. He thought he could outsmart me, too. But where is he now? In the ground. And you're about to join him if you push me. Sophia whimpered, her body sagging in his hold. Emily's heart broke, but she held her ground. You're not getting anything unless you let her go, Emily said again, her voice trembling but resolute. The sirens grew louder. The faint sound of boots hitting the tiled floor echoed closer. Richard knew his time was almost up. His grip on Sophia faltered, indecision flashing across his face. Emily seized the moment. She flung the envelope across the floor, sliding it past Richard's feet toward the other end of the hall. Richard's eyes widened. He instinctively shoved Sophia to the side and lunged for the envelope. Mom! Emily cried, rushing forward to catch her mother as she collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. Richard grabbed the envelope, his hands shaking with triumph. He tore it open eagerly, only to find blank sheets of paper inside. No! He roared, his voice echoing through the corridor. Where is it? Where is it? Emily held her mother tightly, tears streaming down her face. You'll never find it, she whispered. The arrival. The stairwell doors burst open. Police officers stormed into the corridor, guns drawn. Hands in the air, one shouted. Richard spun around, clutching the empty envelope. His face twisted with fury and desperation. This isn't over, he bellowed, his voice cracking with madness. He dropped the envelope, raised his hands halfway, but then bolted toward the emergency exit at the far end. Stop, police, an officer shouted, chasing after him. Emily clutched her mother against her chest, sobbing. Sophia's breaths were shallow, but she was alive. It's okay, Mom, you're safe now, Emily whispered, though her heart knew the truth. This was far from over. Richard's words still echoed in her ears. This isn't over. And Emily knew, he was right. The corridor buzzed with chaos. Police radios crackled. Nurses rushed out of nearby rooms, startled by the shouting. The once quiet hospital had become a battleground of fear and unanswered questions. Emily knelt on the cold linoleum floor, her arms wrapped around Sophia, rocking her gently. Her mother's breathing was shallow, but color slowly returned to her cheeks. Tears of relief spilled down Emily's face. You're okay, Mom, you're okay, she whispered, even though her own heart trembled with uncertainty. A female officer crouched beside her, voice firm yet kind. "Ma'am, we need to get her checked immediately. Can you step aside?" Emily hesitated, reluctant to let go. Finally, she nodded, pressing a kiss to Sophia's forehead before allowing the paramedics to lift her mother onto a gurney. As they wheeled Sophia away, Emily's chest tightened. She wanted to follow, but a detective stepped in front of her. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with graying hair and sharp eyes that scanned every detail like a hawk. "Detective Harris," he introduced himself briskly. "We need to talk. What just happened here?" Emily's throat went dry. She swallowed hard. "My uncle, Richard, he tried to kill her. He was after something my father left behind." Harris tilted his head. "Something your father left? What exactly?" Emily's eyes flickered to the shredded envelope lying on the floor, its blank pages scattered like fallen leaves. Her stomach twisted. Should she tell him? Should she expose the secret her father had sworn her to protect? I don't know," she lied softly, her voice trembling. "All I know is he attacked her, and he wanted something. But I don't know what." Harris studied her carefully, suspicion flickering across his face. But before he could press further, his radio crackled. "Suspect escaped through the east stairwell. We're in pursuit, but he's armed. Proceed with caution." Emily's heart lurched. Armed. Richard had never carried a weapon before, or at least she had never seen one. The thought chilled her. If he had a gun now, things were far worse than she'd imagined. The waiting room. Hours later, Emily sat in the dim hospital waiting room, the ticking of the clock gnawing at her nerves. Sophia was in the ICU, stabilized but weak. The doctors said she would survive, if her stress levels were managed carefully. Emily pressed her forehead into her hands, exhaustion pulling at every fiber of her being. Her mind replayed the night like a broken film reel. Richard's hands on her mother's throat, the flash of sirens, the blank papers sliding across the floor. Her chest tightened as her father's words replayed again. "Promise me, Emily. Protect it, no matter what happens to me." She whispered to herself, almost angrily, "Dad, why me? Why did you put this on me?" Her thoughts were broken by the sound of footsteps. Detective Harris appeared, holding a cup of coffee in one hand. He offered it to her. "You look like you need this," he said. Emily hesitated, then accepted it, the warmth seeping into her cold fingers. "Your uncle is dangerous," Harris continued, sitting beside her. "We've dealt with men like him before, greedy, desperate. But this isn't just about family drama, is it?" Emily's lips parted, but no words came. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. If she said too much, everything her father had warned her about could come crashing down. She stammered, looking down. "I just want my mom safe." Harris studied her again, his eyes narrowing slightly. But he didn't push. Instead, he said, "She will be. We'll keep an officer on her door. But you need to stay alert. If your uncle went this far, he's not done." Emily's chest sank. She already knew that. Richard in the shadows. Miles away, in the darkness of the city's industrial district, Richard sat alone in a stolen car. His hands trembled with fury as he slammed them against the steering wheel. "Blank pages," he snarled. His reflection in the cracked rearview mirror looked deranged, eyes wild, sweat dripping down his temples. He replayed the scene in his mind. The way Emily had thrown the envelope, the way her eyes had flickered with defiance. She had tricked him, outwitted him. "She has it," he muttered to himself, voice low and venomous. "She still has it, just like her father." From the glove compartment, he pulled out a small black pistol. His hands caressed it like an old friend. "This isn't over," he whispered, his lips curling into a twisted grin. "Not until that file is in my hands, and everyone standing in my way is gone." Flashback. Richard's envy. Richard's mind spiraled back to the past. He remembered standing beside his brother, Emily's father, during their younger years. Both ambitious, both eager to take over the family estate. But their father had chosen his elder son, leaving Richard with scraps. "You'll never be responsible enough, Richard," the old man had said. "Your brother will inherit the land, the fortune, the name. You'll only destroy it." Those words had burned like acid. And when his brother's empire flourished, Richard's resentment festered. He had waited patiently, smiling at dinners, pretending to be supportive. But deep inside, envy gnawed at him until it consumed his very soul. Now, that file was his key. Proof of his brother's deals, his secrets, his fortune. And Emily was the last barrier standing in his way. Emily's resolve. Back at the hospital, Emily sat by her mother's bedside. Sophia looked fragile, her breathing steady but weak. Emily took her mother's hand gently. "I thought I lost you," she whispered, tears in her eyes. Sophia stirred, her lips parting. Her voice was faint, but her words were sharp. "He won't stop, Emily. Not until he gets what he wants." Emily swallowed hard. "Then I'll stop him." Sophia's tired eyes opened, locking on her daughter's. "You don't understand. That file, it's not just papers. It's everything. Your father trusted you with it for a reason. You must be stronger than both of us now." Emily's heart clenched. She wanted to be brave, but the weight of her father's secret felt crushing. Still, she nodded. "I won't let him win." Detective Harris returns. Later that night, Detective Harris returned with updates. "Your uncle slipped our pursuit. We found his abandoned vehicle near the docks, but no sign of him. We're putting out a citywide alert." Emily's stomach dropped. She had known Richard was cunning, but to hear that he had already vanished chilled her to the core. "He'll come back," Emily whispered. Harris gave her a hard look. "Then we'll be ready." But Emily knew that no amount of police could protect her forever. Richard wasn't just after money, he was after vengeance. And vengeance didn't stop until blood was spilled. She looked at her mother, asleep under the dim hospital light, and made a silent vow, "I'll end this. One way or another." The mysterious stranger. As Emily walked out of the hospital for some air, she noticed a man standing across the street. Tall, in a dark coat, with a hat pulled low over his face. He seemed to be watching her. Her chest tightened. Was it Richard? No. The build was different. This man didn't move, didn't threaten, didn't flinch. He simply stood there, smoking a cigarette, his eyes hidden in shadow. Emily blinked, and when she looked again, he was gone. A shiver ran down her spine. She didn't know it yet, but Richard wasn't the only one after the file. There were others, and the storm was only just beginning.